You've seen the postcards, you've probably been here. Crystal clear beaches, cozy mountain getaways, luxury resorts where everyone's smiling. But what if I told you these same places once had signs that said whites only? What if beneath the beauty was a history no one wants to talk about? In this video, we're exposing the ugly, racist history behind America's favorite vacation spots and what they tried to erase. Stay with me now, because once you see this, you'll never look at these destinations the same again. Let's start with number 8, Aspen, Colorado, full of white powder and, white power. This town is a classic example of skiing while white in America's luxury mountain town. Aspen today is known for its pristine slopes, celebrity sightings, and luxury chalets. But the town's reputation as a winter wonderland comes at a cost of a hidden racial history. Aspen's story begins during the mining boom of the 19th century, but it was the 20th century tourism boom that reshaped it into an elite playground. While ski resorts across the US branded themselves as bastions of sophistication, they were also explicitly or implicitly hostile to Black tourists and workers. Until the 1970s, many mountain towns, Aspen included, were unofficial sundown towns, places where Black people were permitted to work during daylight hours but expected to leave by nightfall. Stay out after dark and you risked everything. Even now, Aspen's demographics are telling. In a town with a median home price of over $3 million, fewer than 1% of residents are Black. The ski industry at large has been slow to address the exclusionary history of resorts like Aspen, where access and affordability are major barriers, though not the only ones. Like this video if you think less than 1% is insane. So next time you're sipping cocoa slopeside, ask yourself, who gets to enjoy this view and who had to fight to belong here at all? Number 7 is Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where Midwestern charm meets segregated shorelines. Lake Geneva has long been considered the Hamptons of the Midwest, attracting wealthy Chicagoans to its scenic lakeside retreats. But beneath the manicured lawns and clapboard mansions lies a history of exclusion that shaped the town's reputation and its real estate. In the early 20th century, Lake Geneva was a sundown town. Black workers and travelers were often warned not to remain within town limits after dark. The city's local policies and unspoken rules ensured the lake remained an all-white playground. And it isn't just Black Americans that can attest to this town's sordid history. One resident remembers a time when they refused to serve Jewish customers in restaurants. Racially restrictive covenants were common in Geneva's neighborhoods, banning the sale of homes to non-white residents well into the post-war period. Even today, the demographics remain startling. Fewer than 0.3% of Lake Geneva's residents are Black, according to the most recent census data. Do you even know of a town with less than 0.3% of any population? If so, comment and drop that town name below. Now, while tourists may marvel at the quaint shops and lakefront views, yet few pause to ask, who is unwelcome in this paradise? Number 6 is Newport, Rhode Island, where old money makes new myths. This town is slavery's quiet footprint in New England. With its Gilded Age mansions and yachting culture, Newport conjures images of opulence and old world charm. Rhode Island is, after all, nicknamed the Ocean State, but this seaside retreat was also built, quite literally, on the backs of enslaved people. Rhode Island was once the epicenter of the American slave trade. Newport's merchant elite profited immensely from the transatlantic slave trade, financing more than 1,000 voyages that trafficked over 100,000 Africans. The wealth generated from this human cargo financed the stunning estates that line the famous Cliff Walk today. Though slavery was officially abolished in Rhode Island by 1842, Newport's Black population remained marginalized. Segregated schools, limited employment opportunities, and housing discrimination ensured that Black residents were systematically excluded from the prosperity that they helped create. The next time you tour the breakers or admire the harbor, consider that the marble and mahogany were purchased with money soaked in blood. Newport may market itself as timeless, but its history tells a story of those whose time was up before it even began. Number 5 is Palm Springs, California. Is this a desert oasis or a segregated mirage? This one might surprise you since it prides itself on its all-inclusive vibe, particularly when it comes to the LGBTQ community. Palm Springs also sells a fantasy of mid-century modern design, hot springs, and Hollywood glamour. But for decades, this so-called oasis in the California desert was one of the most segregated vacation spots in the American West. From the 1930s through the 1970s, Palm Springs was openly divided along racial lines. Non-white workers, primarily Black, Latin, and Native Americans, were confined to Section 14, a tract of land owned by the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. Ironically, the native land that Palm Springs grew out of was where its most marginalized people were relegated. In the 1960s, the city initiated a campaign to clear Section 14 for development. Hundreds of homes were bulldozed or burned, and often without notice, forcing families into displacement. Today, this forced removal is considered one of the worst examples of urban renewal abuse in California's history. The city's pristine golf courses and resort pools were long off limits to Black and Mexican American patrons. Only with pressure from civil rights groups did some establishments desegregate in the 1970s, decades after Brown versus Board of Education. Palm Springs calls itself inclusive now, but the ghosts of its past still echo in neighborhoods built on bulldozed dreams. Well, number 4 takes us to the South, because how could we make a list like this without heading to the American South? Number 4 is Lake Lanier, Georgia. It's a vacation spot literally built on a massacre. At first glance, Lake Lanier looks idyllic, a popular site for boating, fishing, and family vacations. But beneath the surface lies a history quite literally drowned out by time. Lake Lanier was created in the 1950s by flooding several communities, including Oscarville, a once thriving Black town. In 1912, Oscarville's Black residents were driven out in a violent racial purge. Fueled by allegations that were never proven against 2 Black teenagers, white mobs lynched suspects, burned Black homes and businesses, and forced over 1,000 residents to flee. Years later, the U.S. government built a dam and flooded the area to form Lake Lanier. To this day, structures from Oscarville sit submerged under the lake, silent witnesses of a forgotten genocide. Local legends call the lake haunted. Boats crash, swimmers drown, and while many dismiss these stories as superstition, they reflect a deeper truth. Lake Lanier was born from terror. Its waters cover a crime that remains unresolved. So before you vacation there, ask, what exactly did this water wash away? Number 3 keeps us in the South with Charleston, South Carolina. Today, it's a vacation paradise. People flock there for the sunshine, the waterfront, the nightlife, and more. But this charming and picturesque town is a former slave port. Charleston ranks high on lists of best U.S. cities for tourism. With its pastel architecture, cobblestone streets, and famed culinary scene, it's no wonder visitors flock to this historic gem. But Charleston's charm rests on centuries of Black suffering. This was America's largest slave port. Nearly 40% of all enslaved Africans brought to North America entered through the Charleston harbor. The city's wealth was built on the labor of enslaved people who worked rice plantations, built its infrastructure, and created its iconic Gullah culture. Many of Charleston's tourist attractions, such as plantation homes, historic homes, and the city market, have long minimized or whitewashed their connection to slavery. Some plantations only began acknowledging their full history in the past decade. The Gullah Geechee people, descendants of West African slaves, remain cultural stewards, but also face the risk of gentrification and cultural erasure as Charleston becomes even more upscale. Yes, Charleston is beautiful, but beauty built on bondage demands more than admiration. It demands truth. Number 2 is Catalina Island, California. Welcome to Hollywood's playground and the native erasure behind it. Just 22 miles off the coast of Los Angeles, Catalina Island feels like a Mediterranean escape. Tourists come for snorkeling, scenic views, and 1920s Hollywood glamour. But few know they're vacationing on stolen land with a legacy of native erasure. The island was home to the Tongva people for thousands of years before colonization. When Spanish missionaries arrived, the Tongva were forced into servitude, disease, and conversion. Later, as Americans took control, native people were displaced entirely. By the early 20th century, Catalina had become a celebrity hotspot. The Wrigley family bought the island and developed it as a tourist haven without any acknowledgement of the original inhabitants. As tourism boomed, Catalina's marketing leaned heavily into racialized kitsch, from faux island natives in grass skirts to Hollywood films using Catalina as a stand-in for Pacific savage locals. The island's branding erased indigenous history in favor of exotic fantasy. There are no visible monuments to the Tongva today, only souvenir shops and tiki bars. Number 1 is probably one of the bigger shocks on this list, and it is Central Park in New York City, New York. America's most famous park was actually once a Black community. This may surprise you, but before Central Park became the green heart of New York City, it was the site of a thriving Black community called Seneca Village. Founded in 1825 by free Black New Yorkers, Seneca Village was a safe haven from the discrimination of Lower Manhattan. Residents built homes, schools, and churches. By the 1850s, the village housed over 250 people, including Irish and German immigrants. Then, the city decided to build a park. Using eminent domain, officials seized the land, destroyed homes, and evicted families, many without compensation. They claimed the area was a shanty town to justify the displacement, despite clear evidence of a stable, prosperous community. Today, most visitors stroll through Central Park without ever hearing of Seneca Village. Only recently have historians begun to reclaim this erased chapter of New York's history. It's a sobering reminder that even in the North, even in liberal strongholds, Black communities were never safe from removal in the name of public beauty. As we discussed some of these vacation spots, we talked about the history of sundown towns. But would you be shocked to know that there are still actual sundown towns that exist today? Check out this video to learn more about that, and be sure to like and subscribe.